Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another State of the Balance with me, your host, Imperial Dana, Master of Propaganda and Master of States of Balances. Off here, of course, to cover the State of the Balance for November 2015, the second to last, of course, we won here in December, and of course, all of this is going on. We also got a huge, balance preview going up with a large patch overhauling the Overcommander West. I'll be doing a video on that tomorrow, so look forward to that. But meanwhile, what is the actual current situation? If we look at the Overcommander West, let's just start with them for once. I mean, they're rather stuck in some spammy territory. Lots of folks on this. Panzer 6 out with the Battle Group headquarters. Mechanized Regiment has almost vanished completely, or at least basically is where it always has been for quite some time. It's more or less same old, same old. Just expect spam. Try to hit them with light vehicles, something that can murder all the infantry as quickly as possible. And try to sort of finish off the fight as quickly as possible before it prolongs too long. I mean, it's basically, again, the same sad story as it's been for, over almost a year and a half now. Again, it's just not quite there. I mean, some players will, of course, try and play more interesting, but they tend to be more of a rarity rather than the rule. It's currently just Jaeger spam, or maybe you'll see some Luftwaffe ground forces, maybe a special operation. I mean, we are seeing some players going for orbital down, and they have been out for some time, but that's really the only sort of huge change there's been there, essentially, when it comes to the Overcommander West. So not so much there. Looking at the Americans, their sort of Western Front Army's counterpart things, I mean, we are seeing heavy cavalry, but it's not quite focused on as much. There's Rifle Company, which is still really the most overpronounced doctrine there, alongside armour. They're just so much easier, just throw stuff at the enemy. They're Pershing, probably a bit too far off if people just use it. Rangers are good, but again, people just prefer lots of rifle with flamethrowers or lots of M10s to roll over everything and just shoot things to bits there. Not always going to succeed, but particularly with Rifle Company, there's a sort of high chance of success. One thing I'm noting is we are seeing more American players actually utilising BARs and bazookas. I mean, you have to be a bit more watchful from that, and certainly that's also in a sense, big step forward for the Americans to actually begin to use more of what is available to them. So, I mean, in that sense, that's great. In terms of teching, some still go captain only, some go for lieutenant. We're seeing more going lieutenant captain than major. So there are some things there. I mean, overall, they're not quite as predictable as they could be anymore, which is, in a sense, is good. But again, I mean, you're more likely to sort of see Rifle Company or, well, Armour Company than, say, you are seeing heavy cavalry most of the time. Though, of course, that's not to say heavy cavalry isn't there at all, but, it's not quite there. Airborne sort of not seeing so much after more anymore, still being a pretty good doctrine, but just not one people seem very interesting in utilising when they can just go anything with some armour or tank destroyers in it. So not so much else really there. Again, not too much has changed, except again bazookas, BARs. We are seeing more smoke screen being utilised as well. That is good as well in a sense, except of course for the ones from the receiving end. And of course, we are seeing a lot more mines thanks to riflemen defensive structures, but it's not all that utilises them. So of course, that's a little detail there as well. As for the British, I mean, they're still sort of slowly catching on. We are seeing more players that are actively using Bren guns, Piats, not so much of Bren guns. We're seeing some few AC users, but most people just tend to go for snipers, then go for Centaur, maybe a Cromwell, and then most will just go for Anvil, get some heavy engineers, support with Churchills, maybe get some Crocodiles for a doctrine. I mean, in that sense, there's not so much there. They're still sort of learning out there. Again, we are seeing some really trying to push the envelope. That is good. We are seeing some commander usage. We're seeing some, but overall it's largely Vanguard or special weapons. If they go Vanguard, they'll use the Commandos. Some are using Raid, though, aggressively. But otherwise, not so much there to look out for. And if you generally sort of want to beat them, I mean, generally one good as the Wehrmacht anyway, since of course the Overcommander struggles a bit, they just basically rush for tier 3 and get out some armour. Usually British players, the way they play currently, will leave themselves somewhat vulnerable to that, so a good play there can do a nice amount of damage, really. Overall, I don't really want to touch much with the Brits. I mean, compared to with the Americans, where Rifle Company needs a toning down and is getting a toning down, so I'm not talking so much there because, again, that's coming. I mean, the Brits really just need to use a lot more of their tools, in particular doctrinally. They have so many tools available to them currently. I just think they should just try and learn that. I mean, I've seen some players just use some of the stuff most players don't even use, and they're just doing wonderfully. So I think there's just more room to actually explore the British and the doctrine for sort of really needing any sort of huge balance changes as such. Looking at the Soviets, we are seeing more players using T-34, 76, but otherwise there's still a bunch, going for, well, Tier 2, then straight into IS2s. Some we're seeing more use on stuff like Defensive Regiment. We're seeing more Dushkas, Lend-Lease is still reasonably popular. I mean, there are some varieties there. As for what they could do with, I don't know. I'd probably look into maybe the SU-5 sort of distancing a bit more from the SU-6. Maybe more damage, though if we give it more damage, vet bonuses need to be reverted, otherwise it's going to be absolutely ridiculous at Vet 73. So maybe instead of that, maybe some more range at Vet Tier 2, maybe a bit more penetration at Vet Tier 2 as well. That way you're giving a bit more sort of way to distance itself from both the M6, SU-76, but also the Stu-G. And that way be a bit more impressive in that sense, and perhaps also be a bit more viability compared to the SU-76, because currently all it has is basically, it can survive a few more shots, that's it really. So that could do with some work there, but beyond that I'm not so sure about the Soviets. They all seem to be sort of playing reasonably well, and overall again most issues just basically seem to boil down to Oberkommando West needs an overhaul, really. As for the Wehrmacht, see, you know, we are seeing some more interesting change again. Wehrmacht tends to be sort of where the sort of more things happen, but generally again we're seeing more smoke usage from Wehrmacht, but we're also seeing, you know, a more sort of different branch of overall strategy again. We're seeing players sort of just go for very light tier 1s, going for Pioneers, MGs, and then going straight for Panzer Grenadiers in either tier 3 and tier 4. If they go for tier 4, though, they do tend to leave themselves quite vulnerable, and that's something a good allied player can exploit with quickly going out some medium tanks and hitting them there. But, you know, it's still interesting again. It does mean there's some larger branches now there within sort of Wehrmacht play, and again, sort of overall, more things to keep an eye out for. We're also seeing more tier 4 play, more Panthers, Panzerwerfers, Sturmpanzers. That's also pretty neat to see, I mean not say, but see, besides, you know, an increased use of Panzer Grenadiers. Doctrinally, it tends to sort of float around Spearheads. Lightning will become very popular again with the not close air support, but the Leute about there with the anti-tank aircraft there, the Kanonenvogeln. That sees some more usage there. Tigers are getting a bit back. Mechanized assault has sort of dropped in popularity, though we still do some, but they tend to then go for very heavily on assault grenadiers within the first few minutes, getting out several scores. And Ostrom currently is also super popular. Of course, the counter to that is if you're the Americans or the British, you know, upgrade your infantry, the Bren guns or BARs for the Soviets, you know, take up aggressively and hit them that way. Maybe throw out some more conscripts or you go for a doctrine with the submachine guns, you know, hit them that way. I mean, there are options. But overall, the Wehrmacht play is sort of going in several different directions. I mean, that's good, and overall I'm noticing more players utilizing smoke in different ways, and that's overall quite positive. So while there's only other positives, again, the Oberkommando West, as usual, tends to be sort of the thing that drags the entire experience down to a certain extent. I mean, the Americans do need sort of being brought back in line, and yeah, I think that's it really. Again, some change there to the Soviets. Wehrmacht, I don't know, maybe look into the 251.5 track, but beyond that, I'm not so willing to just sort of change too much there at the moment. Not once, you know, once we get the sort of Oberkommando West sorted out first, really. But again, more on that in tomorrow's video. But hopefully this sort of brought you a bit more up to speed of what to expect, and sort of, you know, how to deal with it. Again, there's sort of different branches, different plays. You can sort of see for different factions. Again, US tends to be a bit more focused, though we are seeing some slightly larger variations now. Wehrmacht, again, in particular, now has sort of larger branches. Again, either infantry or sort of quick tech for Panzer Grenadiers. That sort of tends to be sort of the larger branches there we got from those at the moment. And Brits, while you have a few specialists, again, it tends to be sort of very much, you know, quickly take up with a few sections, snipers, quickly take up for Centaur or Cromwell, Churchills, Crocodiles, ignore everything else. Not very effective, to be honest. So again, hopefully this has been helpful, hopefully this has been enlightening, hopefully this will strengthen you and better equip you for future fights here, and of course, I mean, there'll be, of course, more change then. Again, you'll probably see some more actions within the meta game, but again, we got a whole month for that. So, thank you all for joining in. Hopefully, again, this has been helpful. And if you're watching, feel free to, you know, like it, share it, subscribe to the channel. That would be most helpful as well. So, thank you all, and hope to see you all another time. Bye.